My name is Gassia Mikaelian. I'm an anchor and reporter at KTVU Fox 2, which serves the San Francisco Bay Area in California. I'm happy to talk with one of the leaders of an incredible theater group that serves our region. Welcome to Nina Meehan. You're the Executive Artistic Director of Bay Area Children's Theater. Thanks for being with me.
Thanks so much for having me.
Now, tell me what was supposed to be on your stage right now and what's happened to that production.
So we should have been opening 2 weeks ago. It was a brand new world premiere musical based on the book You Need a Unicorn, with the book by Tim McDonald and Broadway composer Rob Rakiki. The music is rockin', the story is fun. We had one rehearsal, and then it became clear that this show was not going to happen. So we cried some good tears, and now, we're moving forward and looking to see. Eventually, we know we're going to put this show on and we can't wait, but how do we serve the hundreds of thousands of kids who need art in the Bay Area right now?
And you do serve hundreds of thousands of children every year across the Bay Area, not just in the East Bay. Many people think of your theater group, they go to see your shows in Berkeley. You also perform in San Francisco and Sunnyvale and throughout our region. It's the time of year where a lot of parents start thinking about summer camps. And I know you put on some incredible summer camps. What's happening with that this year?
So unfortunately, we are not able to do our traditional summer camps, as many arts organizations are looking at for the summer. The rules and regulations are changing on a daily basis, and we need to make sure that we keep our community safe. That is our number one priority. But we are doing a lot of experimentation and trying and testing new things. The modality of online learning is completely new for the theater community, and we want to make sure that we are serving our students as best as we possibly can. So we started a partnership with Outschool to be able to test some really crazy fun new curriculum. Typically, we specialize in musical theater, and Zoom is a really challenging venue for musical theater because you can't actually all sing at the same time on Zoom. So we've really pivoted to storytelling and improv and just really imagination-based, creativity-based curriculum.
One of my favorite things about live theater is that you have a bunch of people on the stage who are like a family. And then you get a bunch of people in the audience who might all be strangers to each other. And you have this collective experience that will never happen again outside of that room, even if the same show plays tomorrow afternoon. How are your artists and your actors dealing with, and your teachers dealing with not having that, that juicy interpersonal thing that happens when you have people physically together?
It's such a good question. And I think one of the things that makes theater so special is that moment of connectedness, of joy that happens in the room. So we're trying to figure out, how do we replicate that? So for instance, we work with this amazing DJ named E.T. Hazard, who he DJs our Baby Rave. And Baby Rave is a really popular event we do for our littlest audience members. And when we figured out we couldn't do them this spring, we brought them online to a virtual Baby Rave. So E.T. was so excited about, being able to bring it virtual. And the first time we did it, he only had him on camera. And he came back and he's like, I just need the kids. I need the kids. So we figured out how to use a new system that we learned called StreamYard, which allowed us to have E.T. on one side of the screen and project kids all across the Bay Area dancing their little tushies off in their living room at the same time. So I think it comes down to really creating those moments in a new way and thinking differently, testing it out, seeing what works, iterating, trying again.
I'm sure that eventually, kind of your bread and butter, like most theater groups, is, seats in the chairs in the theater. As that will eventually happen one way or another, do you also think that maybe some of the things you're doing now in this time of crisis will continue even once we are back in the theater?
I am a huge fan of silver linings, and obviously this is an insanely difficult time for everyone across the country and honestly across the globe. But I really have hope that what we are learning now about different modalities of creating will actually expand theater in the future. I mean, how cool would it be if We figured out how to have an online experience that you could start at home and then go to the theater that extends that experience, and then go home and be able to text back to the actors or the characters. There are so many possibilities of what we can do. And I think using this challenging time as a moment to let our minds expand and say, what's possible? It's the gift that challenging times can give us.
I think one of the big criticisms of live theater or of the arts in general is that it's great for the people who can afford it, right? We don't all have $50 for a ticket to go see Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? Put them by your theater group, or, go to San Francisco Opera, San Francisco Ballet. I have seen those organizations I just named and many others just throwing open their doors and putting their content up online for free. They're accepting donations gratefully. But do you think that in a way, this crisis does help blur that line over who gets to partake in the arts and who doesn't?
At Bay Area Children's Theater, we take pride in the fact that we are serving 25,000 kids per year who maybe can't afford tickets to our shows through our student matinee programs. And when all of this started happening, we did immediately realize that right now is a time that our entire community is really struggling. So we actually developed curriculum and classes immediately called Creativity Corner, where it's online creative drama classes. And it's a sort of a 5-minute story with a different character for each episode. We have a mermaid, we have a chef, we have a princess, and the kids can watch and engage. That the lessons get them up and moving, because screens are great, but we got to get them up and moving. Right. And then you can download an activity sheet and a coloring sheet and fill it out and then email it back to us. And then we have a gallery of all of the kids' work online at creativitycorner.org, because that free element is so important right now. Again, we are absolutely accepting donations. We are a nonprofit organization, but our priority right now is making sure we have programming available for anyone who needs it.
Have you guys reached out at all for any of the local, state, or federal aid that may help you and other arts organizations stay afloat?
Yes, we are very connected across the country with all of the other children's theater companies. There's an organization called TYA USA, Theater for Young Audiences. And all of us artistic directors are working together collaboratively to make sure we know about different resources that are available. And then locally, the theater community has also come together. So as these opportunities are arising, we're applying just like everybody else. We're still, in a waiting game. And I think it's going to be an ongoing process. I think it's important for us to remember that right now, obviously, our first responders and our, folks who have need for food and shelter need a ton of support. The arts have to be a part of our community also. And that's going to be a long game in terms of support.
As the artistic director of Bay Area Children's Theater, do you envision a play or something coming out of this that months or maybe even years later will tell the story of what we're going through right now?
Ooh. It's really interesting you would say that. I have not started dreaming about that yet as a play. I just today started documenting what my family is doing. Just, pictures of, my 4-year-old on her headset doing a building class with her teacher, and my 12-year-old, doing an interactive history class. Just little pictures so that I can capture those moments. And I do think that there is opportunity to make art from this. Our friends actually at Honolulu Theater for Young Audiences have been creating episodes that are specifically, that are actually showing on television, that are specifically talking to kids about the experience of living in the coronavirus. So it's been really amazing how the artistic community has embraced that in lots of different ways.
One of my favorite things to see when I go see theater of any kind, either for children or for grownups, is that they take very complex issues, right? I'm a big opera fan. So life, death, just these huge, and they just break it down to the most personal, to the most, microscopic way to show a universal experience in that one moment. Can you say a word about how children might process what we're going through differently than maybe you and I, we joked about, a minute ago, we're doing more laundry than we thought. We cannot make enough food to feed these children who are at home for 3 days a meal. Like, we're going through one experience, but the little ones you serve are going through something else.
They really are. Just yesterday, my 4-year-old came in here, and she has taken to carrying her laptop around and coming and sitting next to mommy and typing because she's working. So that's part of how she's processing it, is through imagination play. But she looked at me and she said, "Mommy, I just want to take a walk and go somewhere that's not shut." And it was so simple. And I think that's what's so important for us as adults to remember. We're processing so many things and we put so many layers on those things. Oh, well, what happens with this and how does that affect this? For the kids, the feelings are just as intense. In fact, probably more so. The fear, they feel everything we feel, but it's okay to let it simplify when we talk about it. Honor that. Yeah, everything is shut. That's hard. How does that make you feel?
Right.
And allowing those feelings to be big. Because I got big feelings right now. I bet you do too.
Right. No, trust me. It's funny. I've kind of, in some ways, been happier than I've ever been because we get all this family together time. And I think, when else could I possibly have? I mean, I've been working from home for more than a month, right? And I get to see my little boys, 23 out of 24 hours a day. On the other hand, I think this is a little bit too much together time. And like your daughter, I just want to go somewhere, without, and especially for parents, I think, my big outing every week is I go to the grocery store, right? But even that can be very anxiety producing because I
Yes.
go with the hope of bringing home bread, eggs, milk, and flour, but they never have flour. Milk, sometimes is a limit of 1 or 2. Same thing with eggs. And so even what you would think would be like your one big outing, it just layers anxiety on top of anxiety.
It's so true. And one of the things that I'm really seeing in the Bay Area Children's Theater community is when we can give parents a small, tiny break, even if it's 15 minutes of joy, of easy, of togetherness, and togetherness that maybe you don't have to plan because you're in the middle of, working and homeschooling and figuring out the next run for the grocery store and where am I going to buy a mask and all of these things. So we're trying really hard in our programming to think about using creativity and imagination to help give families that moment of joy and connection that 3 months ago they could have experienced at the theater, but today they can't. So how do we stop time and say, okay, for this moment, can we be together? In 5 minutes, yeah, I'm going to be freaking out again, and that's okay.
I agree. Before I can let you go, Nina, can you tell our viewers where they can find your theater group online?
Yes, so there are 3 different places right now. So definitely test out our classes at Outschool and our online free resources at creativitycorner.org and our regular website, bactheater.org.
Got it. Well, Nina Meehan, Executive Artistic Director of Bay Area Children's Theater, thank you for your time. I wish you the very best to you and the artists to make this world a more beautiful place. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And if you'd like more information on this or any other topic, you can find it anytime at coronavirusnow.com.